Oh dear.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to mikeybalzz Fishing. Guess what won the Forrest Wood Cup? Hold on for a second. You got to like and subscribe. You got to. Just do it, because I'm going to tell you pattern breakdown, what won the Forrest Wood Cup, and guess what? It's been something I've been telling you about for years, and that's what's so cool about it. So any of you guys who have been watching the videos for quite a few years know that I went on a tangent, dude, a tear, fishing offshore. I really fell in love with it. You know, I'm a shallow water fisherman. I love flipping mats. I love punching grass, but the lake got kind of tough. I needed a change of pace, so I really focused on figuring out some of these offshore structure fishing type lakes and really put, I think, like the last 4 years into doing it. And these offshore structure lakes, they involve shell bars, they involve brush piles. That sound like a keyword for the Forrest Wood Cup? I think it does. Ledges, you know, breaks, any kind of like offshore change or structure, anything that's out there off the bank, off the grass line. That's what we're talking about. So one of the keys to offshore fishing is your graph. You really have to learn to believe in it. You got to have faith in it. And it takes time. I mean, everybody's different. For me, it took about 6 months or so. And it took seeing something, catching fish off of it, catching fish off it again. I think I've told you in the videos in the past, I'm like a 3 or 4 time kind of like get it in your head kind of guy. I'm stubborn. I don't listen to factors that are around me. It takes a few times for me to be like, wow, something's happening here. I should pay more attention. So let's talk techniques, because that's what you tuned in for, right? I don't think I could have won 200,000, 300,000, whatever it is, dude. I'm not a big tournament fisherman. It's not kind of my deal, even though, you know, we got that Roland Martin Marine Series. Nice second place. Got super lucky, but it's freaking awesome. This technique is really sort of reimagining something that's already out there. And a lot of our great techniques are like that. A swim jig. You know, everybody used to like toss jigs, drag jigs, pitch jigs, but then somebody picked it up and they reeled it. You know, swim jig, friggin'. So a lot of the concepts and a lot of the techniques that we find that are super successful, all they have to do is just, they kind of relate to just reimagining something we're already doing. Taking a bait and fishing it in a different way. Taking a bait and using it in a different manner to address a different need out on the water. And that's exactly what happened here. So what are we talking about? Well, the Forrest Wood Cup was won by Clent Davis. Dude, freaking congratulations. That is freaking insane. Insane amount of money for 36 pounds, but hey, anyway, anyhow, right? But he won it fishing brush piles, which is something that I love to do and I've really gotten into. Brush piles, just offshore structures, whether it's brush, trees. I found freaking milk crates, bathtubs, dude, it can be anything. Let's just call it offshore structure, but that can, brush piles, you know, like whatever, bro. Stuff that's off the bank, that's stuff. Freaking train in the background going crazy. So why do fish relate to this kind of stuff? Well, during summer, you know, freaking it's hot, dude. We're hot, the fish are hot, water temps go up, and they look for this offshore structure because it provides kind of like a dark kind of hangout that's off the bank in cooler water, usually better oxygenated water, and they stack up on it because the bait's there too, the brim are there, everything seems to set up there. And that's why, you know, there's good brush piles, there's bad brush piles, and sometimes you don't know why, but in most cases, a good brush pile is going to be near, like, say, a channel turn or something, like a river bend, a ledge, a drop, near a shell bar. It's going to be near maybe a spawning flat. Like oftentimes that happens during the post spawn. And they can vary in depths too. You know, they can be in freaking 12 foot, 10 foot, 8 foot, 30 foot. It really depends on your water clarity, and your water color. The clearer the water, the deeper they usually go, but that's not always the case, just because, you know, there's not rules in fishing, which is why it's awesome and sucks. But yeah, I told you I'm going to show you this technique, so I should probably show you this technique, huh? What's this right here? What is it? Oh, that's the key. And this is where we start talking about reimagining baits. That's a wobble head. It's a gambler wrecking ball, and it's a no hook wrecking ball. I like this one because you can put your own hook on it. You see I got a split ring on there. I put owner wide gap plus on there. Hooks 4-aught usually, but I will go up to a 5-aught when I'm using giant stuff. But that's what Clent Davis was throwing. It's a wobble head, but guess what? You're not supposed to drag it, but he was. So let's start with how you're actually supposed to fish this. Well, the way you're supposed to fish a wobblehead, just imagine a crankbait. This is kind of a 4-wheel drive, weedless, snagless crankbait. And what you do is you throw it out there and you slow reel it across the bottom. This football head with this split ring basically walks just like that across the bottom, And you can fish shell bars, you can fish wood, you can fish rock. It's great on rock, chunk rock, pebble rock, all kinds of rock. But the whole trick is, and the reason this technique is like set apart from, say, dragging a Texas rig or even dragging like a traditional football rig, is that wobble head. It gives the bait free motion, just like that. That's why you got to be careful when you rig it, which we'll talk about in a second. But it gives the bait free motion, which really creates like an action, and almost like a crankbait where it wobbles back and forth. Freaking waves, dude. It's ski boat central out here. So how are you supposed to fish this thing? Cast it out. Woo, let it go to the bottom. And then you just reel. I like to kind of palm the reel, but you just kind of a slow retrieve, and I'm just keeping bottom contact right there. Bottom contact. Every once in a while maybe stop it, but really that's how you're supposed to fish it. It allows you to cover water a little bit faster, and you get to keep like bottom contact, like four-wheel drive cranking, like we said. Now this is where things start to get interesting, because Clent wasn't using the wobble head in a traditional manner. He was using the wobble head like a drag bait. And we've talked about this before, because what you're getting when you use it as a drag bait, you're getting sort of that weight on the head, you know, Texas rig style, but you're getting the free flow motion of the bait going back and forth because it's on a split ring. So how do you fish it? Well, it's really not that much different. All you're gonna do is cast the thing out. Got a brush pile right here, straight ahead of me. Cast it about 5 feet past the brush pile. I'll let it sink to the bottom. I'm gonna drag. Drag. Like Texas rig worm style. Plastic worm, drag it. And really, the biggest difference is like I talked about, that split ring. That split ring is allowing full motion of the bait. So you're getting a bait that moves different than the Texas rig. It has a lot more motion, a lot more naturalness, I guess. But I can tell you by personal experience, and ask a few guys, I kind of put a few guys on Kissimmee, my buddy Garrett Rockamora. I'm like, dude, you have to try this. This is back like 3 years ago. Friggin', it's when I started catching them on brush piles using this. Guys were throwing a lot of Texas rigs, a lot of Carolina rigs, and I would catch 3 fish to 4 fish to their 1. Like, it was crazy. And we actually went out on Lake Kissimmee on a shell bar, and I'm like, dude, I only got 2 of them. You take it, I'm gonna fish a Texas rig, and you drag this thing, and I'm gonna drag a Texas rig. Dude destroyed me. Caught like freaking 16, 17 pounds to freaking my 1 2-pounder. And all you're doing is just dragging it. You're feeling for the bottom, dragging it. The beauty of it too is this football head is meant to roll over, roll through, and roll around stuff. So that means if you have brush, if you have shell, if you have rock, whatever you have, that bait's gonna roll through it and just ride clean basically. Even cleaner than a Texas rig sometimes, especially when it comes to shell and like bigger wood, because it just rolls over the branches, it rolls over the shell, and it just kind of keeps doing its business. On the wrecking ball combo, guys. She ate it and freaking ran. That's a good one too. Oh gosh, that's a good one. This is what I'm talking about with dragging it, dude. They freaking chomp it. You don't gotta reel it. There's sometimes when you do want to reel it, but dude, oh God. Sometimes they just want that big thing dragged and they want that action. Look at that solid one. Come here, because I'm not going down. That's a freaking 4-pounder. Wrecking ball, wobble head, Forrest Wood winning. Oh, she came right off. Nice. 2 big questions left. What kind of weight do you use? How heavy? And what kind of baits do you put on it? Weight is pretty straightforward. You basically use what you'd use on a Texas rig in the same situation. For me personally, say 8 to 15 foot, maybe a little more, 8 to 17 foot, let's say. I'll run a 1/2 ounce. 17 foot and deeper, I'll run a 3/4 ounce. If it's blowing like freaking crazy and I'm trying to get like 20, 25 foot, I might go to a 1 ounce. You gotta kind of play with it a little bit depending on where you're fishing, but the biggest goal is to keep contact with the cover and the bottom. It's a drag rig. All you're trying to do is drag it through the cover, drag it through that brush pile, shake it a little bit, drag it some more, keeping contact. Baits are pretty simple too. I try to keep it pretty freaking straightforward, but note, you can put anything on this. As long as you got the right hook on it, you can put any kind of plastic. I love, a lot of guys throw a lot of different plastic worms and they say they were, no. ER16, Gambler ER16. It's a gigantic straight tail worm, and this isn't all of it. It's actually a 16-inch straight tail worm. It's freaking gigantic. But a trick I learned from my buddy who fishes the FLW tour, cutting this thing down and getting a magnum, what I'd call kind of like a shaky head or straight tail worm. This is Copperfield. In green clear water, I'll only throw 2 colors, green pumpkin and this Copperfield right here. I try to keep it super simple when I'm out here because I have so many baits and so much stuff that I like to try that when it comes to colors, it's shad brim. That's it. Keep it super simple. The other kind of bait I've been super successful using as a trailer on that wobblehead is a Mega Daddy. It's a Gambler Mega Daddy. I like to go to this when there's 2 different situations. One, when I want more flappy doodle kind of stuff, because these claws, they kick. They do it kind of gently. It's just kind of a womp. It's not a kind of like a ribbon tail deal. It's just a whoop, whoop, whoop. But it really gives off a little more vibration, and it also swims. I set a difference between a straight tail that'll kind of like wag, I guess you could say, and a bait that swims. Once again, kind of like my simple definitions. So this thing has some kick to it. It has some swim to it. That straight tail will be kind of more finesse. It'll quiver. It'll wave. It'll S-wave. But the other reason I like to go to this is compared to that big worm, it's a more bite-sized package. And I found when I've had fish short striking that worm, or when I can't get them to bite that worm, I'll put this thing on and they don't miss this. Because when you end up putting it on here, which I'm going to grab, you're talking about a package that's about that long. It's only about 3.5, 4 inches long. It's very compact, and once again, the key to the action is that free floating deal. It's all about that. It gives more action to the bait, and the fish love it. So yeah, maybe someday we can win 300K. That'd be freaking awesome. Could do a lot of videos with that. Congratulations to Clent Davis. That is a technique breakdown. That's inside scoop. And I gotta say, we've been doing it for years, dude. I find it's cool to see when something that you kind of figured out and that you learned about kind of shows up on the tournament scene later on and it's used to win a tournament. It's like, cool. Like I kind of learned how to do that and figured that out a long time ago. It makes you feel good, which is kind of cool. And it's kind of a reinforcement of the learning process because that's what we're doing out here all the time. So if you have a Texas rig situation, if you have a Carolina rig situation where you're dragging baits through offshore structure, wood, brush piles, airboats, whatever, dude, if you're dragging it on that kind of stuff, pick up that Gambler wrecking ball, pick up a wobble head, put a worm on it, and give it a try. I guarantee you're going to get more bites, and you're going to get different fish that weren't biting, your Carolina rig. Like, I think fish bite different kinds of vibrations and different kinds of movements. Like a new bait thing. When a new bait comes out, it's hot as bananas, dude. You like that? Hot as bananas. And freaking, they chew it. And that's what this is. These fish have not seen this kind of presentation, especially dragging it. A lot of guys may be fishing in a traditional way, but they're not dragging it through structure like we are. Make sure you subscribe and like this video. I'm trying to give you stuff that'll help you out on the water, stuff that I've learned in the process of my 1,000,000 to the 5th failures, because I screw up a lot and I don't catch fish a lot, but sometimes I do figure some stuff out and it feels good when it comes full circle. And this is a cool situation where you see something that you learned and talked about years ago in videos kind of come full circle on the tournament scene, which is pretty damn cool. But yeah, subscribe, support the videos. You guys get me up in the morning and get me out here. It's just always an inspiration to read the comments and just kind of get motivated, dude, because I love fishing in general anyways, but you guys motivate me to sort of push at the process of learning, and just try to figure stuff out so I can share them with you. It's a fun relationship. It's a fun process, dude, and I can't get enough of it. So thank you. But tight lines, guys. We're out. Throw that wobblehead Gambler wrecking ball. You'll catch a fish.